But this is not the most crucial part of this. The most crucial part is that Bishop Prevost did not open a canonical investigation according to guidelines of the Conference of Bishops in Peru, which he authored. He is the author of those guidelines. He didn't follow that.
Welcome to what will surely be the most fascinating show we've had here at Church and State thus far. My guest today is Msgr. Ricardo Coronado-Arrascue, a Peruvian priest who has been smeared by left-wing Catholic website Crux, dissident website National Catholic Reporter, as well as the so-called conservative Catholic Culture website. Now, why would those who are otherwise opposed to each other when it comes to the faith join forces and do what they're doing to Monsignor? Well, it's because of what he's about to reveal to all of us today, namely the true story of his own cancellation, but also the truth about Leo during his time as bishop in Peru. Today, obviously, is an important topic given the gravity of the charges, as well as the story that you're about to hear, which includes allegations of cover-up as well as abuse. Therefore, without further ado, I'd like to welcome on to Church and State, Msgr. Coronado-Arrascue.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Cox. It's an honor for me to be interviewed by you, who has a great reputation in the Catholic circles. But also, I want to greet your audience and tell them that I highly appreciate that they will take time to listen to me and be patient because of my lack of English skills may be a barrier for them, but I will try to do my best.
Monsignor, our viewers today, especially those who've been reading my Substack, Cox News, have read your two articles, really statements that you've put out in response to Crux as well as National Catholic Reporter. We'll get into what you said in those statements as well as why you are responding to those outlets in just a moment. But I think it's beneficial for our viewers to really hear from you about, your own past. You are in your 60s now, and you've been a priest for quite some time. Can you tell us about your upbringing and background, and just what have you been doing with your priestly ministry all these decades?
All right, thank you very much. So I was born here in Lima, but it was an accident. My mom came from a small town in Chota, which is north of Peru, just to have a safe giving birth here in Lima, because, my town didn't have hospitals at that time. So they could afford, and she came here, so my deliverance was good and safe. And then immediately after that, we went back to my small town in Chota, where I grew up. Then, when I was 7 years old, my father had to travel to Germany for further studies. He studied his doctoral degree in engineering in Germany. So I stayed with my grandmother for some time, and my mother went to join him, and they came back, and then we moved to a bigger town, I would say city, called Chiclayo, where Prevost later, way later, became a bishop. In that town, I attended all my schooling from kindergarten to high school in one of the Augustinian schools. So I was close to the Augustinians because of my education, but also I interacted a lot with my parish priests who were Franciscans. So I was an altar boy since I was 8 years old, right after my first communion. And then the idea of the priesthood came to me very early on. The bishop in my hometown was very close friends with my family, and he is the one who married my father and my mother. And then he baptized me. He confirmed me as a pastor. I mean, as baptized me, and later as a bishop, he confirmed me, ordained me as a deacon and as a priest. So it was a very close connection with him. I consider him to be one of the best bishops I have ever met. But I joined the Augustinians because I think I saw some of the priests, some of the friars in my high school to be well-learned, well-intentioned people, persons, and they were traditional. They, as far as I could distinguish at that early age, I was more inclined to everything that was traditional. I even wanted, when I was serving, I begged the priest to wear the old chasubles, the old dalmatics, and all of that. Many of them said, no, this is too old, and I will wear these new ones. But I always long for something more substantial, for something more solid. So I thought that because of those priests in my school were sort of traditional, that was the way I should follow. But it was later, it was proved to be totally wrong. So the Augustinian order has gone very far. I wouldn't say, well, many here in Peru join liberation theology, but many, I think most of them, even they have some nostalgia for all times where the order was powerful in the spiritual ways, solid in its teachings. They couldn't confront the newness of Vatican II. So for every innovation that was presented in the name of the church was totally embraced, whether it was right or wrong. It was very difficult to distinguish. Actually, what was the liking of the superiors and the doctrine of the church? Sometimes it was so confusing. And I think because of my formation, my theological formation here in Lima was traditional. So the school we attended was, in fact, more traditional and more solid than you could expect in South America. So I embraced the teachings of my professors, my instructors wholeheartedly, and they inculcated the idea that you have to fight for the truth no matter what happens to you. So the most important thing, and this is why they told us, and they taught us, is to be Christian. Every other vocation is a consequence of you being Christian. Whether you marry, whether you're a priest, whether you're a friar, whether you are a hermit, whatever you are, you have to be rooted in the Christian principle and the Christian, affiliation and the Christian acceptance of Christ. So for me, that's a motto I always follow. Yeah. I had to be faithful to Christ no matter what happens. So,
tell us about some of your ministry then. You were in Colorado Springs for some time. Get us up to speed as to what's been going on in more recent decades. And then now, what happens after that, eventually in 2024?
So in 1999, I left the order and I went to the United States because my mother lived in Iowa, not in Colorado Springs as many people think. So I was in Iowa. And for many years, for 1 year, just learning English and trying to get a sense of what the Catholic life is like in the United States. So then I went back to Spain, to Salamanca, to finish my doctoral degree in canon law. So what happens is that when I was about to finish my dissertation, my advisor, my director of my doctoral thesis, told me that I have a lot of familiarity, of course, with the church in South America, in Spain, in Italy, but I was lacking something that's very important, and he had a great experience with that. I was lacking the experience of the Anglo Church.
Mhm.
So he proposed to me two places to go. One was Dublin, because he had a friend of his, a former student of his, being a bishop of there, or Denver. So I told Denver because I had some people connected with me in Denver, but also my mother was living in the United States. So I went to Denver for some time, 3 summers,
Mhm.
for an internship, and they entrusted me the most difficult cases,
Mhm.
in the tribunal.
Mhm.
So I speeded up every case. I finished everything. And Archbishop Chaput was the archbishop at the time. So one time there was nobody in the tribunal, and he called, and I responded to him and said, he asked me if I can expedite one process, and said, no, you have to respect the terms. So next day he tells me that I need to go to his office. So I went to his office, and he told me, this is the kind of people I need to tell me I cannot do something in my own diocese.
Mhm.
So I said, well, everybody most of the time says, yes, Bishop, we will do this, but you actually stood your grounds and defended the right application of canon law. So they wanted me to stay in Denver. And my bishop in Cajamarca said, no, we need him here. So there was an agreement for me to go 3 consecutive years for 3 months.
Mhm.
At the end of that, I came back to Peru for good. And then a year later, or 2 years later, there was a change of bishops in Cajamarca, in my diocese. And my new bishop just wanted me to be in the chancery, but I didn't have a real job. So then Bishop Sheridan lost his canon lawyer, and he was looking for somebody. Finally, he approached Archbishop Chaput, and he said, well, I don't have anybody, but I know somebody. You may try to call him. So he called me, and then the rest is history.
Mhm.
I spent 17 years working for him, for the diocese. And I will come back every 3 months to Peru
Mhm.
to take care of the other tribunal in Cajamarca as well, that serve 3 other dioceses. So I have plenty of experience of both realities. Mhm.
Mhm. The headline from Crux magazine recently: cover-up allegations against Leo spun by defrocked priest. That is
Yes,
uh, Elise
that's
and
me.
Alan's article against you. What's the first ball that really puts it into motion to where we're at today as to why Crux is writing articles about you in a sort of a hit piece manner?
Yes, that's a mystery to me as well, because I'm trying to reconstruct everything looking
Mm-hmm.
backwards. So when Bishop Golka, the new bishop of
Bishop
Colorado
Golka,
Springs,
James Golka, he was
James Golka,
the
yeah,
bishop of Colorado Springs, appointed in 24. Was that right? Or 23?
22,
Okay.
2022, 2022, yeah. So in June 2022. So he came, and, he was kind of indifferent at the beginning, but then he became very hostile against me. But so I think he was looking for any reason to have a confrontation with me. But the point came that one time he wanted to dispense, this is
4 years
2022.
ago. Yeah, 21.
So he wanted to dispense children, the good of children, for a couple who wanted to be married, which is impossible. A bishop may not do that. The bishop has no power to do that,
Dispense
because
children? What do
these
you mean?
children, the good of children from marriage. So if you get married, the first and the most important thing, people think is love, is fidelity, is this and that. No, the most important thing and for your marriage is to have children. That's why God created man and a woman, because procreation and the upbringing of children is the central and most important point of marriage. Okay, yeah, but people distorted that. So he wanted to dispense that from a couple. So the groom, if I remember well, he got a vasectomy, which is one of the most, I think is the strongest statement against children. And then he wanted to be married validly in the Catholic Church. That's impossible. Nobody can dispense that. Not the Pope, nobody can dispense you from children with the intention of having children. So he gave the dispensation, and I said, no, that's wrong. So I wrote to Rome, and he knew that I was writing to Rome, and then from that point on, he wanted me out. But I think he had other reasons. Somebody has told him that he had to get rid of me. So I saw that, and we had an agreement, a written agreement, that, okay, I will go back to my diocese. They have to pay.
Why? 1 second, Monsignor. Why would Bishop Golka try to be getting rid of you? What is the ulterior motive there potentially?
I think the ulterior motive was that I was very strong calling even the bishop to follow canon law, and he wanted free range, or somebody else higher up has told him, "Oh, get rid of him. We don't want him in Colorado Springs and nowhere in the church, probably." Because then when I arrived to Cajamarca, to my Diocese of Incarnation, the bishop didn't want to meet with me.
So he sent you back to Peru, or you agreed to go back to Peru, and the bishop in Peru said he didn't want to meet with you now.
No, he didn't want to meet with me, even though I was the judicial vicar in my own diocese.
And who is the bishop down there?
Huh?
And who is the bishop down in Peru?
The bishop is Isaac Circumcision.
Okay, yes.
And that's his name. So the other two bishops, because the tribunal served 3 dioceses, so it was interdiocesan tribunal. So the other 2 bishops wanted me to be the judicial vicar. So basically they could outvote him in that, but we agreed that we will prolong my appointment only for 1 year. Well, that 1 year was hell to me. Seriously, it was horrible. The bishop would tell me periodically, "Yeah, no, you're doing a great job. I seen your sentences, your decrees, and all of that, but I'll remove you. I will remove you." But he said the reason he said originally was because I had been too long in that position. Well, canon law says that those who have experience in canon law should be preferred to be judges, not somebody who is fresh out of school and has no experience on that. So, okay, so at the end of that year, which was 2023, he was encouraging me to find other dioceses. Even he gave a letter for the bishop, for the cardinal in Uruguay. Cardinal, I don't remember his name now. Well, anyway, so I went to Uruguay, and he said, "Well, I have nothing but good recommendations from Bishop Sheridan, other priests in Colorado Springs, and I see nothing." But then suddenly there was an accusation against me that I had been living in concubinage with somebody. I don't know if that concubinage happening in Colorado Springs or happened in Peru. There was one person that I corresponded through Facebook, because this person wanted me to give material, to give all sorts of instruments for catechesis, and then That person wanted to meet with me, and then it was a harassment that I had to suffer when I came to Peru, and then the bishop at that time. That's something that I learned 2 weeks ago. It was Bishop Prevost who met with him, and he told him to just write down an accusation against me, saying, well, I don't know what he said, because I met with him 3 times in my whole life, 2 in public and 1 in private talking.
This is Prevost, you mean?
No. This is the person who accused me.
Okay. And what did he accuse you of?
Well, of living in concubinage with this person. But this person lived in Lima, and I lived in the United States, so I don't know how the concubinage happened. And I know that because this is what the alleged decree said, and they quote Canon 1395. For that, for living in concubinage with somebody, the bishop has to warn you at least 2 times and said, you need to stop this behavior, live a holy life, at least twice. If you don't obey, then the process begins. Nobody has told me ever anything about that.
Was this involving a male or woman?
Well, I prefer to reserve that for now, because he's going to court here in Peru.
Sure.
And so the situation is that I am taking this person to court,
and you said Bishop Prevost directed him to do this, to make the charge up.
This is something that I learned because of the article in the National Catholic Register. I didn't know that, but the article on National Catholic Register said that it was Prevost, the one who investigated me. And this is also what Info Vaticana had published last week, saying that this is, and Prevost claims that I had a grudge against him.
Yeah. Well, I'll get our viewers up to speed. The situation involves your representation of 3 young women in a canon law case several years ago. Ana Marie Quispe Diaz of Chiclayo, this is her, just in July, came forward and was in the media stating that as the Bishop of Chiclayo, Prevost did not take action that was satisfactory in regards to the priests who abused her and her 3 siblings in the early 2000s, I believe. And Monsignor, you can correct me on the fact.
Well, I cannot confirm or deny if the other 2 victims are siblings. Okay?
That's the reports in the media here. That's what they're saying.
I know. So
Ana Maria, she.
I represented 3 victims.
Sure. Okay. And you began representing them when, and how did that get? How did you get involved with them?
So Ana Maria came to see me because I think some priests knew about my reputation of being a canon lawyer with some experience internationally. So they wanted me to be involved in their case. So what happened is Eleuterio Vasquez, who is
Father Eleuterio Vasquez. Okay.
Yeah, Eleuterio Vasquez is a priest incarnated in the Diocese of Chiclayo. He was very popular and very close friends with Prevost.
Okay. When he was bishop, and he was a priest in the
when he was bishop in Chiclayo. So what happened is that these 3 girls, when they were 9, 11, especially those two, were taken away to a mission which is several hours away from Chiclayo, and is, of course, from their houses. So it would get night, and there was no room for them to stay alone. So there was only one bed, and there was physical approach, to say the least. And of course, they felt that I was abusive. One of them tells even that she threw up during the night because it was repulsive. She felt sick. So they came and reported that years later, when they were adults.
So these events occurred when they were younger, in between 2005 and 2009, and they eventually reported them to Prevost when he was Bishop of Chiclayo in 2014. Is that right?
No. In 2014, he was not even a bishop. No, he began, I think, being bishop.
He was named bishop in 2014. That he received the complaint in 2022. I believe that's the
exactly. That's correct. So basically, he apologized to them, and then he went to the parish of the priest and told the people that he had to not remove but allow him to leave the parish for health reasons. He of course removed him from the parish, but he did not remove him from public ministry. He continued to minister wherever he was. There are pictures of him celebrating Mass in his not a parish, but a previous parish where he was pastor. And he will celebrate with the bishops in the cathedral for special occasions.
This is Father Lute. That's what
Father Lute,
goes by. So El País, I'm sure you've heard of that publication. They summarized the situation as this. They said the Chiclayo diocese would later say in a statement, this is what they said, that Prevost had acted appropriately. They, of course, defend him. He invited the victims to file a civil complaint, which they did, although a year later the case was closed to the statute of limitations. The bishop ordered that precautionary measures be taken, allegedly, against Father Lute, who denied the allegations, and transferred him to his hometown, 93 miles away. Prevost prohibited from serving as parish priest and hearing confessions, although he was allowed to preside over Mass. What do you say to that report? Is that your recollection of things, or you're saying he actually was in public life and the restrictions really probably weren't all that?
I don't know about confessions. I don't know anything about whether or not he was limited about hearing confessions. But, public ministry, I think, he was never been accused of using the confessional for wrong purposes. His persona of being a priest in public and being a missionary and good preacher this is what attracted young people and families to him. So just to limit his faculty of hearing confessions means nothing. What is more meaningful is that he was presenting himself as a priest and having the opportunity to preside Mass and preach. I mean, if he was restricted in any way, it was the worst possible way to limit somebody who is publicly a danger. He's a public danger for the church. So, no, the bishop was not correct in doing that. But this is not the most crucial part of this. The most crucial part is that Bishop Prevost did not open a canonical investigation according to guidelines of the Conference of Bishops in Peru, which he authored. He is the author of those guidelines. He didn't follow that. And also, Canon 1717. So Canon 1717 says that when the bishop has a a wind. You don't need to have a written complaint or written accusation. You have to have just the wind. You hear that somebody has done something wrong, in this case, something outrageous, then you have to open a canonical investigation. There is no choice. And he did not open a canonical investigation. He sent his own report to Rome.
This was in 22 or 24?
Yeah, 22.
22.
Yeah.
What happened to the case?
Uh-huh.
What happened to the case? You were representing the victims here.
Yes. So I began to represent them on May 8, 2024. So I asked the bishop, the current bishop of Chiclayo, his name is Edinson Farfán Cordova. He is a disciple of Prevost. He was his formator, he was his superior, and everything. So I asked him to give me access to the file. So I will examine whether or not the process is going and these victims are protected. He denied that. He said that everything is in Rome. You know, this is absurd. You do send things to Rome, but you keep a copy. You don't send everything and you have nothing in your archives. Well, if they did that, this is another, neglect on their part. They need to keep the file in the archives.
Is the case now closed then, as far as Rome's concerned? They have closed this. They say it's over, or
No. They don't say that. So they said, well, there are rumors here in Peru that Lute has requested a voluntary dispensation. So he's asking the Pope to dispense him from the obligations of the presbyteral ordination, meaning that he will stop being active priest and he will be considered a lay person in the church.
where is he right now? Is he still?
Nobody knows.
Okay.
Nobody knows. You know, the Diocese of Chiclayo has done very good job of hiding him. So nobody knows his whereabouts. Nobody knows what the canonical status of his is.
Is this Father Lute here, Monsignor?
That's him, yeah.
Yes. And you would say, how would you characterize his relationship with Bishop Prevost? You were obviously in that
according to the people I talked in Chiclayo, is very close. They were friends, and Bishop Prevost, I don't know for what reason, he has protected and covered up for him.
Now, what does Anna Maria say lately? I've read some headlines that she actually had an event in Chicago. There's actually secular press that has reported on this. This was earlier this year, actually, in May. So this is all very public. This is not just intra-Catholic Church news. The public reported on this as well. And this was by Eyewitness News 7 ABC. Advocates say they filed complaint claiming Leo didn't address abuse weeks before the conclave. There's other headlines as well. Here's the Telegraph. Abuse allegations cast shadow over Pope Leo. So the secular media was aware of all this. And of course, here's another one from the Los Angeles Times. This was, again, just earlier this year. Survivor of clerical abuse in Peru visits Pope's hometown to call for more reforms. So this is Anna Maria, and she, along with the Survivors Network of Sexual Abuse by Priests Network, this is an organization that helps those who are victims. They held a press conference earlier this year, basically saying Prevost was negligent here.
Well, no, I totally support that. You know, however, I think in Chiclayo, some people, interested people, went to them just to discredit me, and for some reason, they resented me, even though I did everything just to defend them, and I even risked my own good standing in the church, trying to do the right thing for them.
So who is attacking you now, Monsignor?
Well, mainly, there are three journalists that I can point out. One is Annelise Allen. She has
This is her crux articles.
Yes, she has portrayed me as a horrible, abusive, ultra traditional, right-wing, conservative. So I had to write to her and say, no, what you portrayed, what you said is totally wrong and made up. One of the things that they want, they created, no, they want to create, they actually created a narrative against, is that Sodalitium hired me to attack Prevost.
Soliditium is what again, Monsignor?
Sodalitium is a organization based here in Peru and founded here in Peru by Figari. And it was suppressed by Bergoglio last year. Okay. Well, they use a picture of me with some members of current and former members of Sodalitium, saying that I conspired against Prevost because he was defending the victims of Sodalitium. And I was, the adventure, she lied to the point saying that I visited frequently Figari and brought my own seminarians to be trained by him. All of that is absolute fabrication. I can tell you, I never met Figari.
Yeah, we have the article here on the website at Substack, and we were happy to publish that here. You also talk about your dismissal from the clerical state. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I do want to stick on this Soliditium because you say in your response to Alan that she is even a former member.
Yeah, she's a former member. But however, there is something that we need to be aware of. So the Sodalitium allegedly has a lot of real estate investments, so their financial goods are big, according to them. I have no first-hand knowledge of that.
You're not a member of the group?
I have never been a member. Okay. Never. I had been friends with some of them because we were classmates during my seminary training. So you cannot avoid that. There were many. So you cannot avoid that being in Lima. You have to interact with them. I don't think there is a priest in the Archdiocese of Lima that in one way or the other has ever interacted with them. Everybody has. So it's just a made-up story. So what happens is that some former members of Sodalitium are claiming compensation for whatever abuse they said they suffered during their time in the Sodalitium. So at least two of them who are, one of them who is in one picture that I used to say that I was conspiring against Prevost, Alice Allen, and Jordi Bertomeu, who is the commissary for the Sodalitium. They're expecting, millions of dollars in compensation. So they want to link everything, every possible abuse of every possible protest with the Sodalitium. So they will get more credit before Prevost, and they will be better compensated.
So Prevost did not get along with the Sodalitium?
I have no idea, because in his diocese there were not houses of sodalicio.
Okay.
So I have no idea. I have no clue how he interact with them, if he did.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. I am totally ignorant of that.
Now, when you wrote your letter, Monsignor, to Crux to respond to Alan's coverage, she did not publish it, or she removed parts of it. And that's why we
Yes,
published a full edition on our site.
exactly.
What were the parts that kept out?
Conveniently, she pick and choose what she wanted to publish. Yeah, I saw that. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Do you recall the parts that were kept out? Maybe they were the ones that were implicating her or her efforts, maybe.
One of the things is that she didn't want to be presented as former member of the Sodalicio.
Okay. And you have evidence of that, or you've heard of that, or how can you confirm?
No. That's public knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, that's public knowledge here. You don't have to go too far to prove that.
Mm-hmm.
I know some ladies here who are no longer with the Sodalicium that were colleagues with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's other websites that are also calling you out now. You said National Catholic Reporter. That's here.
Interesting.
Reporter here.
Oh, yeah.
The first one. And
Yes.
McClellan wrote this, as well as Brian Faraga.
Brian Fraga. Yeah. Brian
has-
Fraga approached me and he wanted me to give him some, information on my own side, but he distorted everything.
Mm-hmm. They're now saying you have, they're saying Pope Leo critic now says her lawyer might have a secret agenda. And then this is now what the Catholic Culture website is running with. Peruvian abuse victim, lawyer manipulated victims to accuse Pope. So this is, they're saying Anna Maria, whom you represented once upon a time, is now calling you someone who manipulated her for fame, essentially. How do you respond to that?
I don't know what I could have manipulated her. So did I create the story about her abuse? The abuse didn't happen. So the abuse did happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they cannot get rid of this situation. The other thing is Prevost did not, I want to underline that, Prevost did not do the preliminary canonical investigation. He did not do that.
Mm-hmm. You took the case on, you said in a statement that we published at Cox News, because we published your full statement in response to Fraga there, who again didn't cover everything. You said you took on the case because, well, you had a great desire to simply help, and you wanted justice to be done, really. And
let me tell you this. I think this is going to complete the picture. So Ana Maria went public because nothing was being done in Chiclayo. Mm-hmm. So between Prevost and the current bishop, there was another bishop, Guillermo Cornejo. He opened for the first time the preliminary canonical investigation. Mm-hmm. An investigation was done by Osvaldo Clavo. That's a priest from another small territorial prelature in Peru, in Chota. So he did the preliminary canonical investigation for the first time. So you don't do twice a preliminary canonical investigation. That's absurd.
When was
how can it be in November 2023? Mm-hmm. You cannot do that twice. You do that once. And with that, when you have the preliminary canonical investigation, the bishop knows whether or not there is enough merit in that accusation to prosecute the priest or to say, no, there is nothing. The priest was even here, he was in Europe. How can you say that he abused you? He was out of here for 10 years, so this is absurd. Close the case. But you have something. You have an investigation in your hands, and with that, you send your opinion, your votum to Rome. Prevost sent his opinion to Rome without a canonical investigation. So that was arbitrary. That was his own personal feelings, his own emotions. You need to have something substantial in your hands to be able to tell Rome, I think we need to prosecute or we need to stop it. But he didn't have that.
Right.
At least they couldn't show to me anything. It would have been easy for the bishop to say, okay, everything is done here. What is your claim? Just go away. Very, very easily. No, they denied access to the file. Why? You don't have anything to hide. Show everything you have.
I want to read this from CBS News, and it really captures at least the initial reporting on this. This was, again, this summer, July 31st. This is CBS News. Survivors of clergy abuse say Pope covered up reported abuse in Peru. They talked about the news conference, again, that was held this past summer. Anna Maria spoke with an interpreter, saying her case was directly covered up, this is how CBS News phrased it, by then Bishop Prevost during his time in Chiclayo. She said she reported abuse by a priest to the archbishop and a mediator in 2022. She was told by the mediator the priest took responsibility but was moved to another clergy. I'm assuming they meant to say another diocese, and was still...
Well, the translation during the conference that I heard through the media here was terrible. The translation was horrible. There was no mediator. Mediator did not exist. So
yes. Do you think then that Alan, the national reporter, Fraga, that they're trying to spin this as you're a sensationalist, controversial priest who has an axe to grind. You took the case on in order to hype up these charges when Prevost was just doing what he should be doing. And now it seems, again, with their headlines, they're saying that Anna Maria is changing her tune and she's now turning against you. I mean, is that the way you're seeing how they're lining up and coming at you now?
Well, I think, the strategy is, okay, let us forget about the sexual abuse by this priest and about the cover-up of Prevost. Let us focus on Ricardo. He's bad. He's ugly. He's terrible. He's an abuser. He's traditionalist. He lives in the medieval times. He hates Prevost. What about the abuse that... no, let us talk about him. Okay, so that's a strategy.
Yeah. Have you spoken with Anna Maria? I mean, is it true that she's maybe changing her tune now? She did say these things.
No, I know that she has new lawyers.
Okay.
And these new lawyers have made her to understand, they tried to totally confuse you. So you may say this thing, this other thing. So your narrative will be totally incoherent.
She's being manipulated maybe into silence so the story doesn't get out.
Well, no into silence, into confusion, I think. Into totally confusion. So what did I do against her? I didn't do anything against her, against the victims. So this bishop opens the cases, Guillermo Cornejo, and he wants to continue with the cases, but suddenly he sent back to Lima as auxiliary bishop, and now the new bishop of Chiclayo is a disciple of Prevost. And of course he says, oh no, Prevost did everything right. Everything according to the law. Can we see the case? No, you may not see it. We're not showing you anything, but you need to believe that he did everything correctly.
Are there other cases of cover-up or negligence on Prevost's part when he was either in charge of the Augustinian order
Oh,
or
yes.
in Chicago or elsewhere?
Yes. Well, not only in Chicago. I know that he, Prevost, and Farfan, both of them covered up for another priest, called by the last name Olaya. When the current bishop of Chiclayo was bishop somewhere else in Peru, in Chuquibambilla. And Prevost sent these priests to this remote area just to be hiding from persecution and people who didn't like him. And in Chicago as well, you know some of the stories. So I'm not going to get silent or silence because of the persecution I'm suffering. I'll show to everybody what I have. And, the canonical process is horrible. I mean, this canonical process against this prince is with a lot of vices and a lot of attempts just to whitewash Prevost's face and make somebody else to look ugly, because we need to secure that he is considered to be totally right, totally righteous, and anybody who says anything against him has to be killed. Character assassination is the best way to go about that. So they may consider me whatever they want, but the situation is that he did cover up.
In regards to your own canonical situation, because you were, by the Vatican's standards, defrocked in December of 2024.
Yes.
Do you believe that was a result of your decision to get involved in this case in the first place?
Well, so they tried to say that I took this case because it was Prevost, because I had a grudge, because I had something against him. Well, the reality is, I finished, I was done with my canonical commitment in Cajamarca. The bishop didn't want to renew my appointment in Cajamarca. He chose somebody else. And now the other two bishops were new bishops appointed by Prevost or with the cooperation of Prevost, and they didn't want to see me there. But I didn't know he had this animosity against me until recently, that I'm learning now more and more about him. So these ladies came to me and said, "Would you defend us?" So I said, I need to pray about this. So then I talked to two of my friends, two priests, and they said, "What reason do you have for not defending them? Tell us, what is the reason? Fear? You don't want to confront somebody powerful in the church? You don't believe that they were abused? You don't believe that they are telling you the truth?" I said, "No, I'm believing that they're telling me the truth." And said, "Then what? What is your objection?" I didn't have any. No, seriously, what would I say to God when he calls me and said, "Okay, I was afraid of Rome. That's why I didn't defend these innocent victims"? How my conscience would allow me to sleep at peace? I had been 27 years a canonist, defending the truth and defending justice in the church. So when I see something that may be dangerous for me, I have to back down. My conscience didn't allow me to. No, seriously, what else can I have said to them? No, go away. I'm afraid. Or you don't have the means to pay me. No, get out. Seriously, I don't know what people expected me to do about that.
Well, it sounds like you did what was needed and what was the right thing, and then you were punished for it because it implicates someone who's in a powerful position.
I don't really seriously. If I have to do it that again, I will do it again.
What have you made of his first 5 months in the office? Have you been keeping track of who he's been appointing and what he's been saying and writing? He obviously wrote De Lexi Te, which was a liberation theology document. What other?
Well, telling you the truth, maybe 3 or 4 times when I was passing by Chiclayo, because some of my family members used to live there, I would stop, and in the evening, I would say Mass in the morning in the Franciscan church. That was my parish growing up. But in the evening, I will go to adoration at the cathedral. And sometimes he will be presiding Mass, and I will listen to his homilies. His homilies were nothing but the poor, the poor, the poor, and the poor, the outcast, the feeble, the weak. That was nothing but by that. His repertoire of ideas was extremely limited. Then, when he was chosen and began to deliver these beautiful, well-written homilies, of course, they are not his homilies. It's somebody else's work. I think some ideas are his, but the quotation for the fathers of the church, the great works of theology, he doesn't have any of that. Seriously, he doesn't. It's not because I have a dislike for him. Now I do. Now I have a dislike for him after everything he has done against me and what he has approved with his, this book that has appeared as his biography, then making him to be a saint who he is not. It's all fabrication. It's all fabrication.
Do you think then he was actually involved in the harassment you received from the Peruvian bishops, and that eventually led to your defrocking from the Vatican?
Well, he was here a week before, or 10 days before that statement came out. So
Which statement is that, Monsignor?
From the Conference of Bishops. The Conference of Bishops came out. So the Conference of Bishops, the whole Conference of Bishops comes out against one priest, which is ridiculous. It's trying to kill a mosquito with a missile,
And what did that document say?
That said that because the bishops have seen that there is a canonical process against me in Rome, nobody should allow me to take any canonical case. If I am involved as lawyer in any canonical case, I should be excluded. This is a canonical penalty. So the Conference of Bishops doesn't have the juridical power to do that. They are not a judicial forum in which they can judge me. They don't have jurisdiction over any specific bishop or any specific priest. But there are many priests who are prosecuted here, and not one of them had ever been announced by a press release from the Conference of Bishops. So who instructed or at least supported that? It was the only one who was the superior for the Conference of Bishops. That was the prefect of the dicastery for bishops. Who was that? Bishop Prevost. Yeah. Everything is very clear.
Yeah. Can you give us quickly, before returning to Leo in a moment, a rundown as to the many irregularities with your own defrocking from the Vatican? Because I know you've said in your statements there was a lot of violations of canon law that occurred, especially against you by Golka as well as others. But what actually led up to that situation, and how was it so?
Well, it's a combination of things. They are accusing me that I had some inappropriate behavior with some people in Colorado Springs, namely. So one time, and this is what I read in the defense, because they didn't allow me to see my own file. So I don't know who are accusing me and what are the grounds for my dismissal. They don't allow me to defend myself. Here in Peru, I had a canonist who was representing me. He wrote 10 letters to who was my bishop, circumcision in Cajamarca. He did not reply even one letter out of the 10, even one letter, nothing. Then suddenly, after I began to defend these victims, they told me in October last year that I have to appoint somebody in Rome or ask for voluntary dismissal from the priesthood. I said, no, I'm not asking for that. Tell me what is my. They said that I something like I have never stopped sinning against the sixth commandment. I don't know how they know that, because I didn't know that either. So they quote Canon 1395 and 1395.3. So somebody uses the clerical estate to seek sexual favors. So let me give you 3 examples of that misbehavior. So when I was living in a rectory in Colorado Springs, one time I was cooking dinner with a friend. So as we were reading the recipe, I had one hand in his back. The pastor came, so I didn't remove my hand. That was, according to them, a sign that something else was going on between the two of us. Another time, I had a living room in my suite. I always had the door open. So we were watching a movie. I think it was a Sunday evening. There were 2 sofas. Each one of us wearing one different sofa. And the declaration of this priest remarks that we were all dressed in 2 different sofas, watching a movie. That was another sign that something else was going on between the 2 of us. And finally, another one is that I went to hike once a week or twice a week with a student who was at that time studying philosophy in one of the colleges in Colorado Springs. So he liked to talk to me about that, and we would hike in public. He was 20, 22, 23. That was another sign that something else was going on between the 2 of us. So accusations like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I encourage our readers, or our viewers rather, to go to Cox News to check out your response to the National Catholic Reporter, where you do lay everything out in regards to the many irregularities that were used against you to defrock you eventually in 2024. And it makes a compelling case in my book, because I've read through it, and it seems there was obviously a witch hunt here, and many violations of canon law were taking place. But back to Leo now again. When I interviewed Father David Nix, not a Monsignor just yet, he wrote a blog stating that Prevost was probably chosen well before the conclave to be the successor of Leo. Is that your assessment of things? Why was he chosen? Was he
well, let me tell you, I will give you just one example of what that can be suspicious. So here in Lima, there is a priest called his name is Carlos Cardo. He's a Jesuit. At the beginning, years ago, he was not good friends with Bergoglio, but then they became very close friends. and he was Bergoglio's eyes and ears here in Lima. So we have a common friend who's a lawyer also. So he calls my friend and tells him, tell Ricardo that it's best for him to ask the dispensation because from higher up, we got the order that we need to protect, we need to shield Prevost.
What year was this?
2024.
Okay.
So about October 2024. October, November 2024. So I'm telling you even the name. So it's Carlos Cardo. He is the pastor of Our Lady of Fatima Parish in Miraflores, Lima. So I'm not making this up. He said that. So why? Why? I think well, it's too obvious. It's too obvious. From Chiclayo, he goes to Rome very quickly, appointed to be that's him, yes. That's him, yeah.
He told you that
he told my friend. He told my friend.
Okay.
He told my friend it's best for him to just request a dispensation because from higher up we have the order to shield Prevost. It was him, yeah.
Now, what do you make of that? What does that mean in your eyes?
Well, why are shilling? Pell was thrown to the lions. He was a cardinal. Betch thrown to the lions. He's also a cardinal. Why not this cardinal? Why not this cardinal? Because he was something special.
Do you think they chose him back then? They were looking at him to be successor. Maybe even that Bergoglio wanted him to be his successor.
Oh, yeah. That's high possibility. Yes. Well, there is another sign here. He is appointed cardinal prefect, but then you have to wait several years before you move from cardinal deacon to cardinal priest, and then from cardinal priest some more years to be cardinal bishop. And there are some laws that regulate that within the College of Cardinals. Well, Prevost was elevated immediately in months from cardinal deacon to cardinal bishop in Albano. So very, very quickly. What was he trying to signal with that? Why him? Because then he was the only cardinal bishop under 80 in the College of Cardinals. Everyone else is beyond that age.
Why do you think they chose him, or why do you think your insinuation is that Bergoglio wanted him to be a successor? What do you think he saw in him?
It's not my insinuation. I believe that.
Yeah. And why do you think he chose him?
Bergoglio has gone very far. Fiducia supplicans, amoris laetitia, every religion is the same. You can go to heaven without Christ, basically. All of that, and then all these ideological programs that are pushed through synodality in the church have left the church on the verge of schism. So if he pushed a little bit more, then it's possible that would have been a big schism. So they bring somebody who has no past, because Prevost was totally unknown in the big spectrum of the church. He was unknown. He has no writings, he has no books, he has no conference, so he has no background. So he is totally clean, he can do whatever he wants, but he knows that he cannot push the church further. He is going to normalize what Bergoglio has done. He's appointing more women to the dicasteries with jurisdiction over priests. He's appointing bishops who hate the Latin Mass. He's appointing bishops who are friendly to implementing fiducia supplicans. There are more bishops who will welcome the divorce and remarry into communion. He's treating, this is something very, very telling me, they are treating the Anglican Church as they had valid priests, valid priesthoods. So what happens now? So the doctrine is not an issue. We are not going to touch the doctrine for now. Remember, he said that I'm not going to change the doctrine for now. I'm going to normalize everything. The next one may push forward more, but I'm going to normalize. But he is telling, his theological training is not very solid. If you listen to his preaching before becoming Pope, it was absolutely superficial and not even sometimes Catholic. So for example, he says, I'm not going to change the doctrine. He doesn't have the power to change the doctrine. Who does he think he is? He's only the Pope. He's not God. He's not Christ. Christ can change the Old Testament and make a new law in the new covenant. He has the power. He's God, for God's sake. But the Pope is just a Pope. He has to be a witness. So when the Pope teaches something that is true, it's not true because of the Pope says so. The Pope has to say so because it's true. He has to be a witness to the truth. He cannot make up the truth. But what he says is, nobody has the truth. No church has the truth. No one has the whole truth. So we are all discovering, finding the truth. Like the church is not something objective. It's something that you find. It's something that you create as time evolves. Well, this is Marxism. Praxis is more important than theory. Orthopraxy is more important than orthodoxy. Forget about the laws. Forget about the principles. Forget about the doctrine. We need action. We need to be with the people. This is the language I heard so much in Latin America. This is the language of liberation theology.
What do you anticipate for the next 10, maybe even 20 years? Will the Latin Mass continue to be essentially restricted? And will conservatives and traditionalists stand up and do what needs to be done in the face of this destruction of?
I think the Catholics. Well, this is my reflection. We had great popes. Holy men, bright minds in the last 2 centuries. Tell me one in the last 2 centuries that was not bright in every sense of the word. Good teacher, good shepherd, standing for the truth, suffering because of the attacks against the church by the Nazis, by French Revolution, by Chinese communist regimes, by Russia. All of them were. Well, now we have 2 popes that are more friendly to the world, to the enemies of the church, than the enemies of the church themselves. Seriously, this notion that there is no truth is devastating for the truth. But now about the Tridentine Mass. So I think in the church we have too many conservatives. I don't like conservatives. I like traditional people. Conservatives are the ones who are stuck in one time and they don't want to move. But most of our conservative bishops and priests today, they are happy with the damage that was done to the church after Vatican II. They are totally happy with that. They don't want more damage, but they accept the damage already done. They don't want any restoration of the truth. They don't want the brightness of the Catholic teaching. They don't want to bring back the strong tradition of the fathers. They don't care about that. They are happy being a ghetto in the church. So let us picture the church like a big, huge cathedral. In this huge cathedral, you have guitar masses, clown masses, you have all this nonsense in the liturgy. You preach about everything that is contrary to Thomas Aquinas, Alphonsus of Liguori, Gregory the Great. But there is a chapel, there is a small chapel where you can actually celebrate the Tridentine Mass and preach all about that. So you step out of this small chapel and you see all this craziness, but you are happy that you have your own chapel, you have your own ghetto. I don't think this is Catholic. I don't want to be in a church like that. I want to walk out from that and, of course, encounter the Maronite rite, the Syrian rite, the Byzantine rite, the Ambrosian rite, all of that, that is a little bit different than me, but whole apostolic tradition. It holds truth, it holds beauty, it holds unity. But this cheap unity that they are trying to feed us with, I think is totally repulsive. I don't want this unity at all. Unity in mistakes, in errors. Unity in, I mean, superficiality. That's terrible. I don't want any of that.
Neither do I, and neither do our viewers, Monsignor. You can bet that is the case here at Cox News. So it's been a great pleasure speaking with you today, Monsignor. And I want to just give you a last opportunity if you have anything else to share. We covered quite a bit of ground, and you're very courageous for coming on here. But do you have anything else you'd like to let our viewers know about?
Sure. Well, I think we are approaching a time that is very difficult for all of us. You know, we are all sinners. We need to beg God's mercy and forgiveness all the time. But, you know, the church does not worship anybody, any other reality than God, the Father, Jesus, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We are under the protection of the Blessed Mother. Don't worship anybody else. You don't need to worship the Pope. You don't need to worship your bishop. They do make mistakes. You know, no human being is perfect. Don't follow any human being. Just follow Christ. You know, St. Augustine made some mistakes in his teaching. Thomas Aquinas made some mistake in his teaching. And you know why God allowed that? Because the only one who is perfect is Christ. Anyone else is imperfect. So don't confuse likings and desires from the hierarchy to be revelation from God. It's not the revelation from God. They make mistakes in their judicial decisions, or they have malice in their judicial decisions. We have to be above that too. So I ask you to pray for me, and I promise that I will pray for each one of you, the listeners of this wonderful program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Monsignor. May God bless
thank you
for everything you're doing. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. This has been Cox News. God bless you.